Ancient Egypt, a civilization that flourished along the Nile River for over 3 millennia, has left a mark on the modern world, not least through its monumental pyramids, symbolism, cults, medicine, and even witchcraft. With around 138 pyramids discovered to date, these architectural marvels epitomize the ancient Egyptians' engineering prowess and their beliefs in the afterlife. The tradition of burying the deceased with wealth, provisions, and, in earlier times, even servants. The history and mythology of Egyptian mummies are as intricate as they are enthralling, woven through with tales of the supernatural, curses, and a legacy that bridges ancient civilization with modern fascination. The practice of mummification in Egypt dates back to around 2600 BCE, with the earliest mummies emerging from the Old Kingdom period. The process was refined over millennia, reaching its zenith during the New Kingdom, 1550–1070 BCE. Mummification was rooted in the Egyptian belief in Ka, spirit, and Ba, personality, which needed a preserved body, Ak, to return to for the afterlife journey. The most elaborate mummification processes involved removing the internal organs, treating the body with natron, a desiccating salt, and wrapping it in linen. The heart was often left inside the body, deemed necessary for the final judgment by Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Organs were preserved in canopic jars, each protected by one of the 4 sons of Horus. Mummification took a meticulous 70 days to complete, involving a cadre of specialized priests well-versed in the necessary rituals, prayers, and anatomic knowledge. This process began with the careful removal of the body's internal organs, excluding the heart, believed to be the essence of intelligence and being. The brain was delicately extracted through the nostrils using specialized hooks, a task requiring precision to avoid disfiguring the face. Organs were then preserved separately in canopic jars, a practice that evolved over time, with earlier mummies having their organs replaced within the body, albeit with continued inclusion of canopic jars in the burial rites. The body was dried using natron, a type of salt with exceptional desiccating properties, to remove all moisture and prevent decay. After drying, the body was wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen, with amulets and magical words placed among the wrappings to protect the deceased in the afterlife. Masks, often bearing the visage of the deceased, were placed between the head bandages, adding a personal and protective element to the mummification process. The fascination with mummies was not limited to ancient times. In the medieval period, mummies were ground into powder and used in mummy medicine, believed to have healing properties due to a misconception regarding their embalming with bitumen. This period also saw the emergence of mummies as cultural and supernatural icons in modern literature and film, starting with Bram Stoker's The Jewel of the Seven Stars, and popularized by Boris Karloff's portrayal in the 1932 movie The Mummy and 1999's hit Mummy franchise for Universal. Ancient Egyptian mummification was a complex burial practice intended to prepare the deceased for the afterlife, preserving the body through an elaborate process. The ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife where the dead would live a new life, and mummification was a way to preserve the body for this purpose. The concept of mummies coming back to life with malevolent intentions, however, is not supported by any ancient Egyptian texts or beliefs. The Egyptians believed that preserving the body was crucial for the soul's survival in the afterlife, with mummification practices ensuring that the Ka and Ba, spiritual aspects of the deceased, could continue their existence beyond death. Ancient myths, particularly those involving the gods Osiris, Isis, and Horus, emphasized themes of death, resurrection, and the eternal struggle against chaos and disorder, mirroring the physical preservation of the body through mummification. Powers and abilities. Mummies are often attributed supernatural powers and abilities in myths and folklore. These include immortality, the primary power of a mummy, derived from the preservation of their physical form for the afterlife, as well as strength, shape-shifting, and other lost magics. Curses. Mummies are famously associated with curses that protect their tombs. These curses could bring misfortune, illness, or death to tomb raiders. Their resting places, also associated with said curses, can provide them with safety and a place to hone their dark powers. Regeneration. Some legends suggest mummies can heal from injuries, a mythic extension of their preservation, as well as an uncanny ability to rise from the dead. Control over the undead. In various tales and media, mummies command other undead beings or animals, and can even affect the minds of the living as well, and even environmental manipulation. On November 4th, 1922, Howard Carter's team dove into the sands of Egypt, uncovered the first clue to Tutankhamun's long-lost tomb, a solitary step carved into the rock. This discovery heralded the unearthing of the young pharaoh's burial chamber on November 26, revealing treasures undisturbed for over 3 millennia. The Curse of Tutankhamun, 1922. Within the heart of Egypt's desolate desert, a land forsaken by time itself, lay the hidden tomb of Tutankhamun, a sanctum untouched by the light of day for millennia. Howard Carter, driven by a thirst for knowledge that bordered on hubris, dared to breach the eternal darkness that guarded the pharaoh's repose. Lord Carnarvon, the financier of this blasphemous venture, soon discovered the price of their arrogance. As the ancient seal of the tomb shattered, a palpable dread enveloped them. A curse as old as time awakened with a vengeance that hungered for the souls of the interlopers. Carnarvon's fate was sealed with a mere insect's bite, a death too swift to be natural, marked by the unseen hand of the pharaoh's wrath. This was no mere illness, but a declaration of war from the beyond, a curse that wove itself into the very heart of their existence, casting those who had disturbed the king into a shadow from which there was no escape. The desert air, once a silent witness to uncounted ages, now whispered tales of the curse, a spectral sentinel forever watching over the violated tomb. This event did not just unearth treasures, it seemingly awakened a spectral curse, veiling all involved in a shroud of mystery and misfortune, though no explicit curse was found inscribed within the tomb's ancient walls. Carter died from Hodgkin's disease, aged 64, at his London flat. He was buried in Putney Vale Cemetery in London on the 6th of March, 9 people attending his funeral. His love for Egypt remained strong. The epitaph on his gravestone reads, "May your spirit live. May you spend millions of years, you who love Thebes, sitting with your face to the north wind, your eyes beholding happiness." A quotation taken from the wishing cup of Tutankhamun. "And O night, spread thy wings over me as the imperishable stars." In the gloomy aftermath of the tomb's violation, a sinister relic emerged from the depths of history to exact the pharaoh's vengeance upon the living. Howard Carter, perhaps as a grim token of their folly or a warning to those who would follow in their footsteps, presented Sir Bruce Ingham with a paperweight of morbid distinction, a mummified hand, its flesh withered by time, yet its curse as potent as the day it was uttered. Engraved upon the bracelet that adorned the decrepit limb were words of doom. "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence." The curse, dismissive of time's passage, unleashed its fury upon Ingham. Fire first claimed his home, reducing it to cinders as if the very flames of Amenti itself had risen to consume it. Then, water, in its merciless might, washed away the remnants of his rebuilt home as the mysterious flood came from nowhere, as though the Nile had diverted its course to erase his legacy from the earth. This cursed artifact, a bridge between worlds, became the embodiment of the pharaoh's undying anger. James Henry Breasted, a famous Egyptologist of his day, who was also a member of Carter's team when King Tut's tomb was excavated. Shortly thereafter, he allegedly returned home to find that his pet canary had been eaten by a cobra, and the cobra was still occupying the cage. The cobra is a symbol of the Egyptian monarchy and a motif that kings wore on their headdresses to represent protection. This was considered a rather ominous sign. Breasted himself died immediately after a future trip to Egypt several years later. The death of Lord Carnarvon, who financed Carter's expedition, is often cited as the first victim of the curse. Carnarvon died from complications following a mosquito bite that became infected, an event that fueled further speculation and media frenzy about the curse. Despite these stories, extensive research, such as a historical study published in the BMJ, British Medical Journal by epidemiologist Mark R. Nelson in 2002, found no statistical evidence that those who entered the tomb suffered from a curse causing premature death. Many of Carter's team, including Richard Bethel and Lord Carnarvon, allegedly fell victim to King Tut's curse, such as Hugh Evelyn White, a British archaeologist who visited the tomb and may have helped excavate the site. By 1924, after seeing death sweep over about 24 of his fellow excavators, Evelyn White died by suicide, but not before writing, allegedly in his own blood, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear." George J. Gould was a wealthy American financier and railroad executive who visited the tomb of Tutankhamun in 1923 and fell sick almost immediately afterward. He never really recovered and died of pneumonia a few months later. American Egyptologist Aaron Ember was friends with many of the people who were present when King Tut's tomb was opened, including Lord Carnarvon. Ember died in 1926 when his house in Baltimore burned down less than an hour after he and his wife hosted a dinner party. He could have exited safely, but his wife encouraged him to save a manuscript he had been working on while she fetched their son. Sadly, they and the family's maid died in the catastrophe. The name of Ember's manuscript? The Egyptian Book of the Dead. Richard Bethel was Lord Carnarvon's secretary and the first person behind Carter to enter the tomb. He died in 1929 under suspicious circumstances, though one historian has attributed his death to the work of infamous occultist Aleister Crowley. Bethel was found smothered in his room at an elite London gentlemen's club. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, a radiologist, merely X-rayed Tut before the mummy was given to museum authorities. He got sick the very next day and suffered greatly until he died 3 days later. The concept of curses associated with Egyptian tombs predates Tutankhamun's discovery, with origins tracing back to the Arab conquest of Egypt in the 7th century AD. The Arabs, unable to read hieroglyphics, found the preservation of mummies and the protection of tombs through magical means fascinating and terrifying. This belief in the power of ancient curses persisted over centuries. Skepticism and scientific perspective. Despite the widespread belief in the curse, there is skepticism and scientific investigation into the phenomenon. Studies, such as one conducted by Mark R. Nelson and published in the British Medical Journal, suggesting that the idea that ancient tombs could be hazardous due to toxic pathogens rather than supernatural curses, provides a more plausible explanation for any illnesses or deaths that occurred after tomb openings. Modern scientific examination of mummies through technologies like CT scanning and radiocarbon dating has provided evidence of diseases such as arteriosclerosis, dental problems, and even evidence of ancient surgeries like trepanation. These findings offer a window into the health and lifestyle of ancient Egyptians, contributing to our understanding of the evolution of diseases and medical practices over millennia. Moreover, the chemicals used in the mummification process, such as resins derived from plants, have antiseptic properties, which have inspired modern biomedical research into natural preservatives and antibacterial compounds. The study of Egyptian mummification has also enriched the field of bioarchaeology, where the analysis of preserved human remains yields insights into past human populations, their diseases, diet, and social structures. If you enjoyed this video, then like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.